Dr. Abdullah, thank you so much for joining us this morning and welcome to the program. The U.S. is expected to complete its withdrawal of 3,500 troops over the next 2 weeks. The AP is reporting 650 troops are expected to remain to continue to provide security for diplomats there. In your assessment, how well is the military withdrawal being handled in your country right now?
The main reason for this visit is that while one chapter is closing, which is the presence of the U.S. troops and NATO troops in Afghanistan, how to shape the new chapter of cooperation, which the administration has expressed its readiness to continue its support for the people of Afghanistan, for ANDSF, and the rest of it. Personally, how I would have preferred it, that's a different issue. Now there is a decision, and we have to work together to avoid instability, further bloodshed, and we need to, my job as the chairman of the High Council for National Reconciliation, to do everything possible diplomatically, politically, in the region with our friends, to avoid further instability and bloodshed in our country.
As you mentioned, you and President Ghani are in Washington, D.C. for 2 days of talks. You met with a bipartisan group of senators yesterday about the continued support that the U.S. will provide for Afghanistan. And you tweeted, "We address stability, peace prospects, and future bilateral priorities and key appropriations. Bipartisan support is strong." What is your most pressing ask of the U.S. government right now? You know our politics. You know it is very rare now to see any bipartisan formation within Congress, and yet you have bipartisan support. What is your biggest ask of Congress?
We had extensive discussions, both with Majority Leader Schumer, Senator Schumer, Minority Leader McConnell, Senator Menendez, Senator Risch, and a group of bipartisan group of ranking members of the Senate. They all expressed their support in continued commitment for the people of Afghanistan for two reasons, mainly for stability there, but also to prevent further threats from terrorist groups like Al-Qaeda to the Americans, Homeland Security, and also to the region in peace and stability in that part of the world, and also to prevent suffering of the people of Afghanistan, and especially women of Afghanistan, and also how to preserve the achievements of the people of Afghanistan, which is the result of so much sacrifices by the Americans, by our international partners, especially by the people of Afghanistan. And a lot has changed as a result of that support. So it will be like support for ANDSF in the security sector, which we have discussed, and we will later on discuss it with the administration, and economic support, humanitarian support, diplomatic support, and the messaging part of it is also important because of what Afghanistan went through in the past few decades. Now that the troops are withdrawing in a few days or weeks, then the people are saying that the United States will disengage from Afghanistan.
When we throw in, and again, you haven't yet to have this meeting with the administration, but just from the numbers that we're hearing, 3 million doses of vaccines, over $3 billion in security assistance, over $200 million in humanitarian assistance, is that enough, in your opinion, to satisfy the huge needs that your country and Afghanistan is going to need over the course of the next few years?
It's important. It's a big symbol of commitment in action taking in that regard, and also we are working together with the U.S. as our partner, our lead partner in supporting Afghanistan, with other partners as well. But it's very important at this stage, the support when the vaccines, the third wave of coronavirus has hit us harder than then it is known outside to the outside world. That's important, humanitarian support, and also the bigger package of support. I wouldn't say that it will address all the needs of the people of Afghanistan, but we also need to work hard within the country to generate revenue and also work with other partners to continue their cooperation and support.
I was just going to say, let me pick up on what you said in terms of what needs to be done internally and on your end, because President Biden is likely to press you and President Ghani to unify your rival political factions in the face of a rising threat from the Taliban. And this is something that Wendy Sherman, the Deputy Secretary of State, said earlier this week to Christiane. Take a listen.
We are not withdrawing from Afghanistan. We are just withdrawing our troop presence and changing our posture. When President Ghani and Dr. Abdullah come to Washington this week, we will reassure them of our presence, of our continued support, and our continued support for a peace negotiation to ensure that there's really sustainability for Afghanistan. We will also encourage them to unify their country and to build the future that is necessary for the Afghan people.
So my question to you is, how important is that, the fact that you are being asked to unify your internal factions against a rising threat from the Taliban?
It's critical for us, and this is perhaps the most important thing to do, and we have been busy working on that, and the country also have shown its unified voice when it comes to the inclusive, peaceful settlement. Of course, Taliban position is different. I mean, the majority of the people of Afghanistan, an absolute majority of our people, they are for a dignified, durable, lasting peace. And there the people have shown their unity. And also when it comes to the Taliban intention to press for military solution, the people have shown it in support of the government, but more work needs to be done, and the Taliban will be disappointed if they were making a calculus that then they will be dealing with divisions and differences, and that will provide an opportunity for them. We need to disappoint them.
I don't have to tell you that there are tens of thousands of Afghanis who are now fearful of their life as the U.S. presence is withdrawing from Afghanistan, and more than 18,000 alone have worked as interpreters, as drivers, as engineers, as fixers, as security guards. There have been more than 53,000 applications from family members seeking to leave the country. Just this week, the administration said that they're going to be notifying lawmakers that they will begin a wholesale movement of tens of thousands of these Afghanis to a third-party country. What more can you tell us about this? What is your reaction to that?
Of course, there are certain precedents to that. And also recently when Taliban made some progress, they captured some districts and the people have been displaced inside Afghanistan. The concerns about the future security of the country is growing amongst the people, but we are there with the people of Afghanistan, and our partners have assured our people that they will continue their commitment. When it comes to the asylum seekers or those who've served in Afghanistan, their concerns are understandable, but we need to discuss in some details with the administration how best to handle it. So these are part of the capacity which was built for Afghanistan in Afghanistan. And it's our prime responsibility how to assure our people that we are going through a difficult times, and there we need to stay together. Leaving the country might not be an option, but we do understand concern, especially with those individuals which worked very closely with the forces there.
We have seen this in the past in U.S. wars, whether it be in Vietnam, whether it be in Iraq, and this plight to get asylum seekers out of the country, those especially that had been aiding the U.S. military. How important is it for Afghanis to see that the U.S. step up this time as well?
So it's I have a different feeling as a citizen of Afghanistan under difficult conditions and circumstances. To leave the country will not be a solution. We need those people to help us in dealing with the challenges that we are faced with. But meanwhile, I cannot talk for every single individual in its concerns, its worries for its family, and so on and so forth. Officially, I will leave it for our own government to discuss the details of it with the administration.
And obviously, this entails the Taliban grabbing a stronger hold of the country. You mentioned them taking over 50 districts in Afghanistan through mediation and military offenses there. The U.S. intelligence community, I'm sure you've heard, offered a bleak assessment last week, saying that the Afghan government could collapse as soon as 6 months after this military withdrawal. But I want to counter that because the U.S. Defense Secretary Austin and the chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff Milley told the Senate hearing last week that they believe there's just a medium risk of terror groups like the Taliban regaining strength in Afghanistan. And they said it could happen over the course of 2 years, not 6 months like the IC is saying. So you're on the ground there. Which assessment do you think more accurately portrays the situation?
I would say that those analyses are based on the accounts looking at the situation from different angles. But a military takeover by Taliban, as a person who has gone through different experiences in the past 4 decades and has stayed in Afghanistan, I would say that that's, inshallah, God willing, it's impossible. They may try, they may some immediate or midterm success, and we may face some setbacks, but if Taliban are opting for a military solution, that's a big miscalculation in their part. That's defying the lessons of the history. Afghanistan has changed, and they need to evaluate the risks of that. They are opting for the continuation of the war. Suffering of the people will continue, but they will not achieve their aims.
They're saying, though, that they're not even going to begin negotiations or considering some of these asks until all U.S. troops leave the country. There are more fears of a rapid Taliban takeover of Kabul. And I'm reminded of something that you said last year, not even a year ago, in September, when the days of these talks in Doha were relatively early. And you described the atmosphere of these talks as healthy. You said, quote, "We sense that there is a willing in the other side, which is the Taliban movement, to take advantage of this situation and contribute." So were you overly optimistic, and what went wrong?
So I was optimistic at that time because I thought that Taliban main demand was the withdrawal of the international troops, or the main excuse for continuing the fight. And they had promised that they will reduce violence significantly with the start of negotiations. They had promised that they will participate in negotiations in good faith. They had promised that they will de-link themselves with Al-Qaeda. And none of those issues, those commitments are under question. And all of those are under question. And then during the negotiations, they wasted time and also their actions on the ground. Unfortunately, proves it other way around. So this is what we went through. And this is what they had said, that they are for a peaceful settlement of the situation. There is no military solution. That was in the opening statement of the Taliban leader, which was there. So I'm still optimistic. I'm not losing hope on achieving a peaceful settlement, but current situations, the current challenges or realities on the ground, unfortunately, shows the other side of the concerns that we had. While I was saying this at that time, in the back of my mind, there was a very serious concern. What if Taliban intention was to appear to be negotiating without really engaging in serious negotiations, and also waiting for the withdrawal. Perhaps that's what they are thinking. And also, I'm sure that this is not the thinking amongst the overwhelming part of the leadership of the Taliban. But that's the dominating view, perhaps, today.
And obviously their actions are speaking louder than their words and their promising words just last year. And my question based off of that is, what do you say to half of your population being women who are concerned now that there's going to be a huge step backwards to all of the achievements that they've seen over these past decades and their rights, even going to school?
Yes, and there were some hopes that Taliban may have changed, because they were saying that we have made mistakes in the past. And again, in the areas that has come under their control, the first thing that happens, the schools are stopped for girls. But no, this is something that we are going through, and I mentioned earlier as well, in immediate term, perhaps even midterm, we will be faced with these challenges. But all those achievements of the people of Afghanistan, especially half of our population, cannot be reversed. Yesterday, talking to the veterans, they were saying that our service, our sacrifices, our loved ones, is it in vain? My answer to them was no, absolutely not. First, you have served the bigger cause for humanity in dealing with the biggest challenge, perhaps one of the biggest challenges of our time, which is terrorism. Together with the people of Afghanistan, we have made sacrifices. But as a result of our joint sacrifices, life for millions of people have reversed, including in the areas of women's role in the society, politics, economy, everything, every walk of life. Freedom of expression, never seen in Afghanistan, never exercised in Afghanistan in the past. And awareness of the people about their rights, educated population. Perhaps Taliban, I'm thinking about 90s, when Afghanistan was completely isolated from the rest of the world. There was proxy war taking place in the country. Economy was non-existent, and the situation was extremely challenging. That's not the situation anymore in Afghanistan, but together we have to deal with this challenge.
Dr. Abdullah, we appreciate your time and good luck with your meetings today. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Thank you.